Hi, I'm back. It's a new year and a new video format, but as always, we're going to shoot some film. Stocked with a Ziploc bag of Kodak and 2 film cameras, we leave Portland and travel east to the city defined by its cacophony of cabs, characters, and that catchy little chorus from 2009 by Jay-Z and Alicia Keys. When anyone mentions New York, you might think subways, the 90s hit sitcom Seinfeld, perhaps a foodie metropolis. But I think about Phantom of the Opera. My mom, a Chinese opera singer herself, loved musicals. She took me to experience them throughout my childhood, which I think allowed me to grow and appreciate all different types of music and the people that create them. I went to see it for one final goodbye before it left Broadway, and while it might have ended, the show that is New York carries on. There's always something to do or see, whether day or night, and the energy can be either contagious or overwhelming. And it's like the litmus test for introverts or extroverts. But regardless of who you are, there's no denying its presence. It truly is the city that never sleeps. Shooting film in New York really depends on whether or not it's your first time visiting. If it's your first time, as it was for my partner, it sometimes feels like it's a race against the clock to see how many locations you can check off your seemingly never-ending list in a day, and it can be a hard balance between shooting and being in the moment. There's numerous amazing places in New York, but in this video, I'll be sharing a few that really stood out to me from a photography perspective. One of my recommendations is to catch a boat tour through Lower Manhattan. We took one from Circle Line, which brought us through famous landmarks like the Brooklyn Bridge and the Statue of Liberty. Now every time that I'm on a boat or ferry, I like to look for compositions that uses windows as framing, and at the time, none of the regular passenger windows were piquing my interest, until I saw this. Now it was really challenging to shoot with people walking around and the boat bobbing up and down, but I'm really happy with how it came out. It's one of the best shots I've ever taken, and it even got featured on Kodak's Instagram page. Now, film photographers are in a constant dilemma between buying film or buying food. But today, we'll take a quick detour and indulge ourselves and have both at New York's iconic food staple, Katz's Deli. If you can only get one item, get their famous pastrami sandwich. Now, if the size of it doesn't encourage you to split, perhaps knowing it's $26 per sandwich will. And it'll probably put you in a food coma, but I have just the place to walk it off. This park is called Little Island, and it's located along the Hudson near the end of the High Line. It's essentially a floating piece of architectural art with greenery and beautiful views of the city. And while Central Park is a main attraction for escaping the city within the city, there's a particular charm associated with Little Island that definitely deserves a visit. Now, I brought my Canon AE1 and Hasselblad 500cm with me on this trip, and I want to go over what it's like shooting 35mm versus medium format in New York. As I've said before, I think the AE1 is one of the best overall 35mm cameras you can buy for its price. Because New York is so fast-paced, having something compact allows you to kind of keep up with it, especially with street photography. And because you have 36 shots in a roll, you'll be less worried about whether or not to use a frame and more likely to just shoot your shot. Now where the Hasselblad shines is in the image quality. However, you only have 12 shots per roll, which forced me to be more intentional and slow down the shooting process, and sometimes I just couldn't keep up with the high tempo of New York. Then you have to consider the weight as well. Despite New York's expansive subway lines, you do a lot of walking in New York, which I would insist on bringing good walking shoes for, and also consider how you plan to carry your gear. Bags and backpacks are great for carrying cameras like the Hasselblad, but they can slow you down if you're having to take it in and out of your bag for every shot. That being said, I'm still happy I brought both, especially for our next locations. Out of the several observation decks in New York, one of the two I would recommend is Top of the Rock. I suggest reserving tickets an hour before sunset, especially on a clear day. You pay a little more, but I think it's worth it. Just know that the reality is, a lot of people do the same thing. Because my Hasselblad uses a waist-level viewfinder, I'd sometimes have to hold it up in the air, upside down, just to see over people's heads. But I think it's a small compromise for the view. And if you're wondering what could beat this, I did say this was only one of two, and I saved the best for last. This is Summit One Vanderbilt, an observation deck and infinity room art exhibition combined for a magical experience. It is in my opinion worth every penny and a must visit for anyone visiting, especially photographers. With its mirrors and windows, it really invites you to experiment with reflections and framing, and I think regardless of how you comp, the city skyline during sunset is just always going to be beautiful. Now it's easy to get excited and get caught up in shooting, but there was a moment where I put the camera down and just watched the sunset. And in that moment, I was just thankful to have this experience, the privilege to shoot film, and now the ability to share it with all of you. So thank you for taking the time to watch, and let me know what you think about the video. To see more of my work, check out my Instagram, and until next time, be safe and do good.
Have all of your belongings and be careful when opening the overhead bin. Once you have the seatbelt sign